Hello, my name is host Eric, host talking with famous people, and we're talking JC and teetotaling. All right, so talk teetotaling, JC.
What is teetotaling?
I think it actually means opposing drinking, but I mean in this instance just being not drinking.
Oh,
It's abstaining from alcohol
oh,
or not drinking very
I'm,
often.
I'm not opposed to it. Um, I just I grew up in church, so I didn't really, um, I guess prescribe. But it's not like I never thought of it as a bad thing. I always just thought of it as I don't want to be um out of my. I want to have full control of my faculties. That's always the way I just thought of it. And I have enough fun. Like, I don't need to drink to have fun. I don't know. I just never understood it. I was just like, it's harmful to my body. Just all the rational reasons for not drinking. I was just like, okay, there's no real reason to do this. Um, that said, it's not like I've had a few drinks here and there once or twice, um, but never enough to make me like tipsy or anything.
You seem demon free. You know, like most people carry around a certain amount of demons and troubles um, and weight. You don't seem to carry in conversation anyway. I'm not sure the extent to which this is actually representative of your life experience. If I remember correctly, I think you've had some challenging life experiences, but um, you don't seem to carry around a lot of weight with you.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say about me. Like, even people who know me in person. Like, I remember in high school, my friends called me Jolly Jante. Like, because they were just like, oh, you're so happy all the time. Like, I get that a lot, that I'm happy, that I'm innocent, that I'm childlike.
Is that how
I
you
get that a
say
lot.
it? Jonte? That's how you say it?
Yeah, Jante.
Oh, it's not Jahante? I've always been saying it Jahante.
No, the H is silent.
Oh, okay. Jonte, okay.
Yeah. So, I get that a lot. But I don't have anything against drinking. Go ahead. Have fun. you know, I'll be designated driver.
So, I mean, to me, when I hear somebody who's talking like this, my first thought is they must be so satisfied. They must be so satisfied, right? Like,
Mm.
uh, for I think the core adjective to understand the ENTP engine is unsatisfied. We're not yet
Mm.
satisfied. I want more. And this party's fun, and it would be more fun if I were drinking. And it would be even more fun than that if I were drinking and on cocaine. Ooh, it would be even more fun. That's the ENTP engine. We have to learn to put steering wheel and brakes on that shit. One way or another.
Right.
But so to me, you sound like somebody who must be very satisfied at going to a party and just I don't know, like dancing and talking to people or something. Is that
Right.
true?
I mean, I didn't. When I was in like college and whatnot, I really didn't go to that many parties where there was like a lot of heavy drinking or anything. I kind of just like my immediate circle of friends are not into that. They're all pretty much like me. Um, so like we had parties and things. It really, it's not like something I had to resist or something. I mean, occasionally I go to like a Super Bowl party. There would be drinking or whatnot. It's just like okay.
Okay,
There wasn't like a whole bunch of
that's
drunk
not.
people.
But see, that's not just reflective of your circumstances driving your choices. It's reflective of your choices driving your circumstances. If you were
Right.
somebody who was dissatisfied, unsatisfied, needing more, then you would seek out that other stuff that you didn't seek out. And so, to
Right.
me, it's indicative of a life of being adequately having your need for meh adequately met by just life.
Mm, sure.
Uh, Taylor, how do you reflect on this notion of satisfaction as being an engine of certain personality types or an engine of how certain personality types manifest anyway.
I think that the dissatisfaction that you talked about is very identifiable. I think that probably with the satisfaction, there's a little bit of anxiety in it.
What's the anxiety of over?
I don't know. It's not my anxiety.
It's not my anxiety. Oh, so you're saying dissatisfaction with dissatisfaction comes anxiety?
She doesn't seem like she'd enjoy being out of her best judgment. That sounds anxiety driven to me. It could be wrong, but it sounds like an awfully stressful way to live.
Well, it sounds like satisfaction with being in a state of standard sober consciousness.
But how do you know that you're satisfied with that if you've never been out of it?
You are satisfied with it if you aren't asking that question.
Okay.
It doesn't. It makes. I don't know if I wouldn't say it was out of fear. That's not what I would attribute it to.
I didn't say fear.
You said anxiety.
Anxiety.
Doesn't
Yes.
it have a component of fear in it? At least a little bit.
Probably, but if it was fear I was talking about, I probably would have said fear.
Okay.
Excessive personal responsibility.
Yeah, well, I mean,
That-
the thing is, I don't
Stress derived from personal responsibility that is perceived to be of higher importance than it is.
Well, I think that critique is that certain people are subject to that critique. And I think that there are people like us who have allowed themselves to be successfully restrained more by society than ideally they ought to have. And they've had, and it's not their fault, they've had, and society's successfully beaten them down more. I think individuals like that need to embrace the thing you're talking about. But my position here is that JC is actually not in that position. That her basic position is, I view getting intoxicated as losing control of my faculties because I view my status quo state as meeting all of my needs. I think that's what drives us to pursue intoxication, is that we don't view our status quo state as meeting all of our needs.
And you could absolutely be right. I have no attachment to what I was saying. I was just throwing out another possibility.
And you know why it was so good that you did? Because it elicited this response, which I didn't know or didn't think I had as a position. But that's why discourse is so good, right? And that's why it's good to make positions like that you aren't attached to, and to have shit get tested. It helps us all understand better. So that's why I'm a little bit.
We did it again.
I know. Okay, so no more of that. Fucking no more of that.
I mean, what do you think? Like there are people who are just like straight edge or whatnot out there. Just like, I mean, is their view more like
What the fuck was
more
that?
like mine? Is it more like or is it more like you said, more against drinking? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm a little distracted because there was a big explosion a second ago outside of my house. Not right near me, but like maybe a couple blocks away. Boom! So I don't know what that was, but anyway. So can you repeat your thing? Because my mind was elsewhere.
I was asking you, like, do you know anyone else? Like, do you know anyone in your life who's straight edge?
Yeah, well, my friend Dave Porter's been sober for quite a long time now, and he's more straight edge than I am. But we both are completely abstinent from drinking. And I know a lot of people who just drink, and a lot of people who don't seem to have a problem with it, and a lot of people who just drink and do have a problem with it. So,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know
I
anybody
mean,
who has a... I don't know anybody who has a problem with marijuana. I'll say that right. I have yet to meet a single person who has a problem with marijuana.
Yeah, it's actually healthy.
Marijuana
It's
helped you?
natural state. No, I've never done weed.
Oh,
Like,
you said it's healthy. I see. I misheard
yeah.
you.
Oh yeah, it's healthy. Like, I would even consider doing it now. Like, not really, but kind of.
It's more or less harmless.
Right. Right.
What's interesting is I don't know any ENTPs or ENFPs, I don't think, in life. And I don't know if that's because we just don't really get along necessarily. I mean, the thing is, it's interesting when Taylor and I interact, it's different than when I interact with most other ENTPs. And it's, I think because most of the ENTPs I interact with are younger or at a different stage, right? At a certain stage, we've played all these games long enough that we don't believe in our own games anymore. And so we understand there's no point in playing them with each other necessarily. But a lot of ENTPs butt heads because they can't stop doing dance to dominance shit. What's the topic of this video?
I don't know. We were talking about, like, the fact that I don't drink.
Oh yeah, you're not drinking. That's right. Okay, well, what?
We got good with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you normally SE DOMs are thought to drink a lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wonder if I mean which type of
I think it was the way I was raised.
who is supposed to drink more, ESTP or ESFP?
They're
ENFP.
considered. ESTP is considered generally more reckless, but ESFP are considered to be like partiers.
What about ENFP?
They have a little bit more, I guess, like, they're not as degraded in that way. They're more like, I guess it's the SN divide. But they're just seen as very happy-go-lucky, is what I read, or like more ditzy, not necessarily given to
All right. Well,
extreme sensual.
let's segue into this topic. And I think maybe we should just keep the same video, but which drugs each type is most likely to do? Because in my mind, ESFP is more likely to drink, and ENFP is more likely to do drugs in general. And I think that ESTP, ENTP, same way. I think N's are more likely to do drugs, S's are more likely to drink, at least as a mild correlation, is my guess. Not necessarily a super strong correlation, but there's some correlation with that. Anybody think that's the case?
I mean, I personally had a drinking problem. I had to go to rehab, so that was my drug of choice for a while.
And you're INTP.
Right.
So, how long have you not been drinking for?
About 3 years.
That's good. You got a little bit more than me. I'm 2 years and 9 months or something like that. And do you do anything else besides, that's not alcohol? Do you still consume anything that is considered an intoxicant, or are you completely sober?
I'm sober.
How does that work out?
I mean, it works, I guess. I mean, it's stressful, but I mean, I'm pulling through.
Do you go to meetings and stuff?
I used to help out at Celebrate Recovery, which is like a 12-step program, but they changed their program a bit, so I don't help out there anymore. But yeah.
Well, I have some strong opinions. I have my thoughts on how that program works and what aspects of it ought to be focused on. I think that in that 12-step program ideology, the first step is the most challenging one for an NTP to make, and it's the one that has to be made. You have to say, okay, I'm going to accept this non-rational claim, this indefensible claim, that I am powerless over alcohol. I will embrace it, despite the fact that it makes no sense. Okay, I can't defend it logically, but I gotta embrace it anyway. If you do that, then you can make the decision to not drink alcohol anymore. And then if you, later on, you can move away from it and say, you can qualify your intellectual relationship with the sentence as much as you want later on. But from my perspective, you gotta do that. And then, really, that's the only thing you have to do. That's what I did. And it's fine to compartmentalize it from my perspective. I'm not advocating anybody do anything to threaten a status quo that's working for them. And I can guarantee you this, if you went to rehab for alcohol, like me, your status quo is a million fucking times better than it was before you quit drinking.
So you have an issue with saying that you're powerless over it? Is that what you said?
No, I don't. I said that's what I had to accept, even though it doesn't make
okay.
logical sense. And I think the rest of the 12 steps can be dispatched with. You don't need to deal with any of those things. I think step number 1 is the one step you have to make, is to admit you're powerless over alcohol and that it makes your life unmanageable. And then from there, logically, you deduce that you can't drink anymore. And all the rest follows naturally. And you build massive walls around it, possibility. This is how I dealt with it. Big TI walls all around any possible argument I might make that would allow me to drink. So that now I'm in a position where there's no way I can possibly drink without intentionally knowing I'm intentionally doing a whole set of shit that I don't want to, that I can't justify ever doing. So based on the axiom that I am actually powerless over it and it makes my life unmanageable, then all other things I need to know follow logically from that.
Okay.
That's my position.
Well, I mean, the question would be, as far as you don't think that it's logical, do you think that it's logical that you have power over everything else? Or, like, do you think there's some realm that you don't have power in pretty much any decision that you make, or any, I don't know, I guess decision, best word.
I think I have power over everything else.
Okay.
But, I mean, in fact, I know I do. Because I embraced an opposite perspective of the AA crush the identity and the self into dust thing. My point is to liberate oneself from the master of alcohol is to liberate oneself, so that one's will and one's identity, one's nature and one's ego can be manifest in the external world in increasingly successful ways that interact with others in ways that are mutually beneficial and satisfying for all parties. The goal is to actualize the self, not to destroy it. That's my position. So yeah, I had to break with AA because my sponsor and I fundamentally couldn't come to agreement on that point. I said, and he, we couldn't come to agreement regarding what constitutes sobriety for the purposes of AA. In my opinion, and correctly in my opinion, according to the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm sober for AA purposes. But he didn't agree with me. The good thing is, though, I want to give him credit, complete credit for this. He's the one who one day told me, when I really needed to hear it, he said, "There's nothing wrong with you." It was a long time after I had split from AA. That's all he said to me. That's called time magic.
For fucking that up.
He said one sentence and made massive impacts. To deny the self is to deny that he has that capacity. However, I'm not going to deny that he attained that capacity through his own non-rational mechanism, just as I attained my capacities through my non-rational mechanism. So I'm not going to claim that his non-rational mechanism isn't working for him. I'm just saying that it's not the only non-rational mechanism available. And the thing that caused me to split with AA actually was when he explained to me that he didn't write poetry anymore because he couldn't do it in a way that wasn't ego gratifying. And I realized I can't be any party to this. I just can't. It's not acceptable. So I split.
You might have ODD.
I might. You cannot tell me your spiritual way, to the extent that it dissuades external creative expression, is a good thing. It's a bad thing in my book, but it might be a good thing for you. It's fine, but no fucking way am I going to embrace any sort of road of spirituality that dissuades expression.
It shouldn't dissuade expression, but at the same time, it shouldn't be boosting your ego into like in a bad way. There's a point when it becomes harmful.
Okay, well, here's the thing about that notion. First of all, boosting the ego as a colloquial expression refers to causing one to behave in socially unwise manners that are viewed as egotistical. That's what it means in actual functional parlance. But what I'm saying about boosting the ego is, as somebody who was once where I was, you know, the state of one's identity at the bottom. The state of one's identity at the bottom is garbage. And so, if you've been in that state, I don't know how old you are. I'm 45. I was, solidly a drunk for at least the last 5 years, and well on my way there for the previous 5. So, I mean, it's a lot of damage. It's a lot of life history to process through. One's identity does not emerge from there as this clean slate ready to make itself into a super important bigwig guy that gets to be talk about how great he is all the time. That's not. If you're doing that, you're not displaying what I would consider real ego development. You're displaying I don't know. It's not ego in a meaningful, good sense. But I think that wanting to, you have two choices. This is how I use the magical thinking of AA. For me, I've got two choices. I can either operate as though I had some sort of destiny provided to me by an external party, an external overseeing party of some sort. If I were to operate as that, under that framework, my destiny would be much more ambitious than if I were to, from a position of humility as an individual human being, choose to manifest destiny as I define it. If I were to define my own destiny as something ambitious enough, people would condemn me for my self-importance, right? If I define my destiny through some non-rational mechanism that allows me to actualize at a higher level than I otherwise would be able to, that's a good thing. Because remember, to do more and do better in the world is to create more meaningful impact in people's lives. I'm not trying to do wickedness, right? I'm not going out in the world saying, well, let's see how many lives I can fuck up today. So, to the extent that I'm more active and more active in manifesting and creating the identity that I wish to have, it's entirely a good thing. And, AA will tell you, oh, well, it's important, though, that you do it for the right reasons, Eric. No, it's not. Nope. You can tell me that my behaviors are positive or negative, but to the extent that I take any ego satisfaction or ego gratification from it, that doesn't invalidate the experience. To the extent that I have a lot of experiences that give me that ego gratification, it satisfies a need and makes me behave in less egotistical ways. It's just reality.
So you're saying that this external power that gives you a purpose or gives you meaning as an individual, that's irrational? Because I would disagree with that fundamentally. I think that's where we part ways is the rationality bit.
Well, I say my non-rational mechanisms to get me there are non-rational. So I engage in a certain amount of magical thinking that if we're going to meaningfully define rational and non-rational, you'd agree is non-rational. I wouldn't agree that it's irrational. You'd probably say it is.
Okay, so yeah, there is a difference between those two.
Yeah. Thoughts, anybody? In this freewheeling, wandersome topic decentralized episode of Talking with Famous People. Thanks for watching. That's the 25 minutes, best 25 minutes and 45 seconds of your entire life has just finished right now.